Exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
So it's Champions League evening, it's progressing. PSG 2, Liverpool 1. Kenny Cunningham been watching this game very closely. The latest from London is that it's 0-0 between Spurs and Inter. They need to win.
Yeah.
So tricky 40 minutes for Spurs coming up, an important 40 minutes for Spurs coming up. Elsewhere, Atletico already playing this evening. They beat Monaco. Thierry Henry's Monaco, Kenny, 2-0. It's not going great for Thierry.
He's still looking $1 million though, Joe, on the sideline, it's got to be said. The man who's Johnny Cash looked tonight on the sideline.
Oh, really?
Absolutely immaculate, yeah.
Immaculate, is that right? Would you be a tracksuit man or a suit man?
Yeah, the suit thing doesn't really appeal to me, to be honest with you. Yeah, not so much. I just find it a bit odd. I can't carry a suit off full stop, to be honest with you. Just in
I used to say
normal
that.
social
imagine you
situations.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
You've seen plenty of my day-to-day attire, Joe, over the past couple of months.
Yeah, I'd say you're casual, I'd say. So Liverpool
myself are casual.
Yeah, Liverpool on the attack here. Mane down
it's been okay. The tempo's been a little bit better, playing with a little bit more urgency. Second half, Liverpool, which is good to see. Quite open the game, Joe, in terms of kind of nice ebb and flow to it.
Well, Virgin Media Sport is the new home of European football in Ireland. More than 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Nations League games live this season. Stick in your headphones there, Kenny. Virgin Media Sport exclusive to all Virgin Media TV customers, who can also download the TV Anywhere app and stream all the action whenever and wherever they like. Graham Souness gave his thoughts on Liverpool's first half in Paris.
A lesson there. They started well, got their goal, then said, come on, let's see what you've got, Liverpool. Liverpool came after them, got a wee bit of joy without making Buffon work, and then they got them on the break. Second goal, they're absolutely on cruise control, and they've had a brain freeze at the end there. You know, Di Maria, what he's doing there, he's saying...
He's kept Liverpool in it. We'll come to that.
It turns out really that the referee completely missed that Di Maria tackle. And it was one of the officials behind the goal who was actually on the other side of the goal to where the incident happened. Even though the referee seemed to have a better view of things than him, and it was the other
yeah, but this is a good reason. This is an argument for me. I would have the fifth official, whatever you call him, behind the goal for this exact eventuality. And it happens more regularly than people think because of the fact he hasn't got a flag in his hand, and visually you can't see him put his hand in the air. People don't think that they affect the game, but they do.
Yeah. Neymar on the score sheet this evening for PSG. What have you made of him? I've a strange relationship with Neymar, really.
You're going to answer your own question there. I thought you were going to just keep
I want your thoughts.
Have you got a relationship with Neymar? That's impressive by itself, Joe.
It's a one-way relationship. I'm not sure he's aware of my broadcasting work, but that remains to be confirmed. As he wallops a free kick into a wall, I would say somewhat typically, he's just too wasteful, I would say, for all the gifted attributes he has. I just can't quite warm to him. So I'm curious for your thoughts on Neymar.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, generally speaking, or just on tonight's performance?
Give me both. I mean, generally it fits into a pattern.
He's been on the I agree with you in terms of grabbing games by the scruff of the neck and dominating them week in, week out. And also you've got to factor in the level of football that he's in the French league. It's always, you can't get away from it, Joe, in terms he's not doing it in the top league anymore. I think you could make an argument when he was playing at Barcelona, quality teams they're up against, but even then you talk about the quality of players he has around them at Barcelona. But no, I agree with you. He rubs me up a little bit the wrong way at times. Histrionics again this evening. He's found himself on his backside a couple of times, appealing for this and that. So that doesn't ingratiate himself to too many people. You know, fantastic individual ability, He has impacted the game. In the lead up to the second goal, set up and obviously getting himself into the box was a relatively simple finish for him there. So difficult to talk him down too much, Joe.
I suppose I'm asking about Neymar in the context of him being billed as the successor to Messi versus Ronaldo in that era of football, that he's the next best player in the world.
No, he hasn't. I'd say he hasn't stepped up. And I think it's going to be very difficult for him to grab that mantle if he stays in this football environment for too long at PSG. I think he'll have to move again, whether that's back to Spain, to Real Madrid. I don't think that rumour is going to go away, or potentially even come to the Premiership and prove himself in those leagues over a period of time. Because over the last, I'd say, probably 12 to 18 months, almost Mbappe, as young as he is, obviously some people are looking at him in terms of the heir apparent to the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. So that's a small indication. Neymar's stock has dropped a little bit during that intervening period.
Yeah. Neymar, by the way, tonight scored his 41st Champions League goal in 52 games, which I appreciate is obnoxiously good. 14 goals this season. We were talking earlier on with Jean-Philippe Eclair before the game. He's the managing editor at L'Equipe, and he was saying that, frankly, Liga has been ruined by PSG and their dominance. Everyone knows who's going to win. They've scored 46 goals in 14 matches. The league is basically already over. They're bad for French football, is his general feeling, and it's not doing them any favours in Europe, was his point. They're getting into bad habits. There's a reason they haven't made a semi-final in the last 7 years. It ties in with your point on Neymar. They're not out of their comfort zone very often. Yeah,
no, I think it is a fair point. It's an obvious one to make, but I think there is merit to it. I mean, if you say, as a comparison, maybe the likes of Manchester City in terms of money spent, but the environment that Manchester City are in the Premiership, the amount of money generated, TV revenues, at least the teams around the Manchester City are spending money as well. You know, they're in a position to kind of strengthen their own squads, maybe not with the type quality of player Manchester City have, but still they're in a position to strengthen and actually offer some kind of resistance. And obviously you've got the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, etc., who are obviously spending reasonably big, so there is a competitive edge to the Premiership, certainly amongst the top 4 or 5 teams, which really doesn't exist. You could argue the exception maybe in Monaco over the past couple of years, but by and large they're absolutely head and shoulders. And you're right, it's a natural thing. You know, when you're that good, you're that far ahead of the opposition, you play in the comfort zone, you can drop down a gear, you play within yourself, and you become a little bit lazy in your habits, Joe. You're absolutely right. And you can't just, when the big games come along, it's not like a case of just flicking the switch, you know what I mean, and getting yourself into that mindset where you need to be. It just doesn't happen that easily.
Half a chance, half an opening for Salah, and then PSG get the ball and almost make a mess of the clearance.
They're still in it. Kimpembe, for me, like a centre half, it looks as if he's got a mistake in him. If Liverpool can get round his feet, a couple of times first half, they're trying to play out the two centre halves. Liverpool are putting pressure on it. He's dropping his shoulder, trying to beat someone inside the penalty box. That gives you real encouragement in the opposition forward. You sense an opposition centre half defender has got a mistake in him, you know, a little bit too arrogant, a little bit above himself, hasn't got the technical ability to back up what he's actually trying to do in and around the box. So just been a couple of those instances tonight with Kimpembe in around his own penalty box, and that'll give Liverpool encouragement. If they can get into that area of the pitch, get a bit of sustained pressure on the PSG penalty box, they can force a few mistakes.
Yeah. I should mention, by the way, if you're downloading the Football Show podcast, that we have not snubbed Robbie Keane here on the day he's announced his retirement. We talked about him a good bit in the news round. Kenny, effusive in his praise of a young Robbie Keane who sauntered in with a bit of a strut as a youngster and had this instinctive...
Young, not so young, old. It's pretty much the same, to be honest.
Instinctive gift for being in the right place, right time, reading the play, spinning off the shoulder. So we talked at length about Robbie Keane on the day that he's retired. So just in case you're wondering why we haven't touched on him. It's interesting, actually. We also mentioned Damien Duff, and he was making the point that Irish kids who want to make it, he was talking about having his team at Rovers doing double sessions some days and in first thing in the morning and back in the evening. Keith Fahey was sort of responding to that last night on Twitter, and Keith was making the point, like a really good technical player, Keith Fahey. He was saying that when he was growing up, he used to play with a tennis ball all the time and just have it with him a lot and manipulate it and use his imagination, just different scenarios around the house, around the garden, whatever, just always with it. And that is kind of the way up until now we've brought players through. They've done the vast majority of their football away from structured training. I'm sure you came through on 2 nights a week.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And even in terms of the with no coaching whatsoever, Joe, obviously, you know,
just play.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn up for training, 2 goals, off you go. Like, and invariably, me, I wasn't the type of player to get involved, go into the middle of the pitch, get plenty of touches on the ball. I'd sit at the back and kind of do my thing, and that was pretty much it. Minimum contact.
Your number of touches must have been dreadful, actually.
My contact hours were more contact seconds on the ball rather than hours. So that is important. Yeah, it is important just to get those kind of contact hours with the ball.
So then, when you were with your mates around the green, then, or in the estate, is that when you did most of your football development with the ball at your feet?
Yeah, it would have been. When I grew up off Dorset Street, so we had to head up the basin there in Blessing Street, and even up towards like Mountjoy Prison. There used to be a bit of green there in the side of that, so we'd go up there and throw a few coats down, and off we go, just play a few games. But yeah, that was it. It was the same, wasn't it? On the street as well, earlier before the cars and everything else, a little bit difficult to get out and kick a ball. It was the same. But I think it needs, I would argue in terms of, I have a huge amount of respect for players traditionally over the years, Irish players, because of the lack of coaching that they've got. It's amazing, really, Irish players have been so successful over the years, the last 10, 20, 30 years, where they've come from, because there's no real coaching was. And I'm not being ultra critical of everybody, because invariably the teams are run by, parents, people with a bit of good, volunteers, exactly. And bless them, you know what I mean. Obviously no qualifications. Would have had a background in football, maybe played football themselves, junior football, but wanted to get involved with kids. Maybe might be a son of theirs involved. So it was this type of thing. But in terms of actually like a football and education, there was nothing there whatsoever. So for Irish lads to go 16, 17, 18 and get thrown into the melting pot over in England predominantly and survive in that environment, fair play to them, because I think the experiences of English kids at that age would have been different.
I was just going to say, I would have presumed.
Yeah, there's the academy structure would have been there like as it is today, but still, kids would have been involved 15, 16 at their local clubs, Division 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there would have been a little bit of structure in terms of what they're doing, a little bit of quality coaching as well. So they would have had the advantage in that respect. But traditionally, Irish players have gone over there and been hugely successful, despite the fact, for me, from starting in behind, starting almost at a disadvantage to their counterparts over in the UK.
Yeah. Where's Kenny's baseball cap gone? Looked like he was in the Backstreet Boys, says Eric on Twitter. Down by his side. Might get him to put it on.
The baseball cap came off for no reason. But it's heated up ever so slightly, maybe 2 degrees. Have you allowed the lads to put the heat up ever so slightly?
It was following from your strop.
Yeah, Joe.
After your strop.
Don't be a bully, Joe. Don't be a bully. You can't get away with that nowadays. You can't get away with it in the work environment.
After your strop, someone felt obliged to put it up. Is it hot enough for you now? Do you want it up another degree?
It's not hot. Full stop, Joe. It's not even warm.
It's warm enough.
It's halfway between freezing cold and warm.
It's still 2-1 in Paris. Last one before we go to Andy West over in Spain. What were Kenny's thoughts on Mourinho's reaction to the Rashford miss last night? Ridiculous. It's as if he's trying to wreck each of his players psychologically.
I hated it.
Not alone. I still haven't actually seen.
Oh, it's horrible. Honestly, I was
try and describe it for me, because I won't be the only one who hasn't seen it. So Rashford has a good chance.
Great chance, 1v1, gets himself in. Keeper comes out, closes the angle, tries to dink it over him. I wasn't then got 10 foot over the bar. Just maybe about a foot over the bar. It just didn't come down.
Sorry, quick tangent. Ironically, Rashford, when he was in against Juve in Turin, he should have dinked it and he didn't. So maybe he's still learning and how to finish, and he's trying to figure out what kind of finisher he wants to be.
He's still developing. He's still developing. That's a skill he has to improve.
Yeah, he should have dinked it in Turin that time.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But that's not an easy thing. It's the hardest thing to do in football in terms of put the ball into the back of the net. And he's going to have to improve that part of his game. But he's willing to get in there. His movement is an awful lot better. His game understanding is improved. He wears his heart in his sleeve. He loves the football club. Always get his shift out of him. Yet when he misses that chance, Mourinho just swivels around to the crowd in behind the dugout and throws his hands in the air to say, as if to say, this is what I'm working with. Yeah, exactly. So this is the common theme, which is, well, this is what I have to, what can I do?
Are we sure he didn't put his hands up in a, good chance kind of a way?
Well, it's the same type of thing, but it was, good chance missed again. What can I do? This is out of my control. Okay. This is what it is, isn't it? So deflecting onto the players. When he talks about players' character, mental strength, basically saying, this is nothing to do with me.
But I suppose, some people can just react instinctively and go, throw their hands up in a, kind of way. It was more deliberate
very rarely does. Everything's contrived with Mourinho, generally speaking, isn't it? There's a method in his madness. I thought it was horrible. And he can't go much lower. For me, the lowest point I've seen him was in terms of how he some of the comments in regards to Luke Shaw. I've never seen a manager go that low with a player.
Which one's the one about he only played well because he was on my side of the pitch?
Oh yeah, that time. Remote control. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I couldn't believe it when he'd been hammering the player anyway, and when the player gets his head and actually produces a performance that warranted a bit of praise from his manager, could only respond with, well, yeah, I only played well because it was me telling them what to do. Just a real begrudge, not even begrudging, That I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it
and
was
people
strange.
will try and flip that and say, well, look at Luke Shaw now, how well he's playing. Oh, great man managing from Mourinho. No, it's not. It really isn't. I give huge credit to the player. He's actually picked himself up despite that and actually resurrected his career. And Rashford, I give the young fella credit as well, because that shows a huge amount of mental strength as a young kid to take that criticism from a manager as high profile as Mourinho on a relatively consistent basis. Now Rashford's had to deal with that, not week in, week out, but generally speaking, it comes his way, that type of criticism of him and Martial in particular.
You're a man who often talks about what's going on subconsciously. You did it again tonight, by the way. Maybe you do it subconsciously, I don't know. But if you're Rashford and you know when you're in on goal and you miss, that you may well get that reaction from the sideline in front of the cameras, then subconsciously or otherwise, you mightn't put yourself in that position too often again.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's why I give the lad credit. For me, I think he is mentally strong. The young fella keeps making those runs. Doesn't get too down when he misses the opportunities.
But the worry might be if this kind of behaviour continues in the sideline, that Rashford won't keep doing it.
Well, I think so.
Everyone has a limit.
Well, I think so. I think this would break certain players. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Particularly young players. Some of the stature of Mourinho, his personality.
Yeah,
it could well do, and not so much break them, but I think you lose respect. The relationship breaks down, and that's what's happened, and that's going to be Mourinho's biggest problem going forward, and probably the reason why for me he can turn this around at Manchester United.
Do you find it strange for someone who's clearly got huge emotional intelligence, Mourinho, clearly because of what he's done in his career thus far, that he's behaving like this?
I'm amazed, because it's one of his biggest attributes as a manager. We all loved him, we still do, huge amount of respect towards Mourinho, that'll never change, but the early part of his career, Joe, I found it amazing. The clubs that he managed at, in terms of big personalities at the football club, big squads, not being able to keep people happy, that's a difficult environment to manage, keeping everybody. You very rarely didn't hear any criticism, any player come out and publicly criticise him. All spoke about how well they were treated, the amount of respect they had for him.
Duff loves him. I'm sure you heard good things from Duff.
Yeah,
Duff
absolutely.
Still loves him.
And no public criticism of players. Kept it in house, kept it in the dressing room, and that for me was one of his biggest attributes as a manager. His relationship with players, collectively the group, and individually players.
There were all these great examples. I mean, Lampard in his book talked about being in the shower when Mourinho first arrived, and he was last one out of the shower, and he turns around, Mourinho's there in the shower with him. Mourinho fully clothed, Lampard in the nip, and he starts telling him he's the best midfielder in the world, and he's going to be the best midfielder in the world, and everyone's going to realise it. And Lampard, he thought it was a little bit weird and intense, but he was on cloud nine, he said, and he just kicked his season off in just the right way.
Yeah.
And then you've...
But I talk about more so, but Lampard came, it was in the team, stayed in the team and scored. And he really improved him as a player.
No, I know that, but it's a sign.
I'm talking about players on the periphery. I'm talking about big personalities, players with big reputations who can't get into that first team on the periphery squad, unhappy. And those that are unhappy, you don't never publicly came out criticising the manager, never aired that discontent that they were having. And that was out of respect to Mourinho and how he managed those situations.
There's the famous...
it's gone. That's disappeared.
It seems to be, There's the famous Materazzi tears when they're hugging each other when he's leaving Inter. All this stuff.
Yeah, but that was genuine, you know what I mean? I wasn't cringing at that. That for me was absolutely real. Genuine. Real bond there between the manager and the player.
So I can't figure out what the hell he's doing, because the evidence of his career suggests he knows how to connect with players and make them respect him and love him.
We're all the same. You get a bit older, you get that little bit more of a narc, big grouch.
You are
it's a general thing. It's coming down the road for you. Don't worry about that. So that's a kind of a general. I mean, it can't be as simple as that, because, like you're saying, the position that he's in, he's got to recognise that, and he's got to modify his approach. He's got to see what's happening, the end result of how he's treating players. He's not that stupid. He's a bright man. Mourinho really is.
So even if it's happening because of age or whatever, as you get older, it's surprising he wouldn't catch himself after a month or two and go, hang on, I'm turning into a bit of a grump here, I need to watch it. He hasn't caught himself, if that's
without
what it is.
Without a doubt, yeah, because he must look at his team play, see how disjointed they are at times in the mood, the body language of the players. He must be able to make that connection in terms of publicly how he's going to criticise the competent players and the effect that's having in terms of team morale and individually on players.
That's not even to mention the Pogba situation. So, it was strange.
I can't see him turning it around, Joe. I'm at that point and we're talking about, when's he going to, give him a bit of time. But for me at the moment, that's the hardest thing to turn around. In terms of the kind of team performance, we can talk about technically or tactically how he's setting the team up. And I probably have done on occasion. I don't think it's quite right. That midfield three hasn't got the type of player that he needs in that area of the pitch. You can talk about one or two other things in terms of tactical setup. Defenders aren't quite good, and he hasn't got the combination of 2 centre-halves. But fundamentally, if you've lost a significant part in the dressing room in terms of players have just switched off, they've stopped listening, they've lost respect for you in terms as a manager, particularly as a person, in terms of how you treat people. I don't think you can turn that situation around. Yeah,
it's starting to look ominous, that's for sure. So latest from Paris, this game's been very lively, chances for both sides actually. We're just watching one now, save from Alisson, header from a corner. Liverpool had a few moments as well.
I noticed there, just as we were talking to Conor Mayoy, Naby Keita coming on, I think it was Wijnaldum coming off, that substitution which had to happen. That was the kind of team, ideally, I would have liked to have seen from the start. Keita, say, long term for me, has got to be the answer ahead of Wijnaldum in that central midfield area. Better all-round player, box for me, give him a bit more energy, dynamism in there. And the next substitution would have to be kind of Shaqiri if they're still chasing the game. Maybe even sacrifice one of those other central midfield players, probably James Milner. Play Keita and Henderson as a 2 and just drop Shaqiri up front with the front 3, give it that more of an attacking threat if they need it. But it is a really open. I know we're talking here, we're trying to keep eyes on the game, but it's a really open game now.
Yeah, it's a good game. 20 minutes to go, they're 2-1 down, and Daniel Sturridge actually is coming in.
Oh, it's killed me.
So Kenny doesn't know what he's talking about.
What do I know?
Oh yeah, Shaqiri, yeah. God, it's leaving.
But it's kind of.
Oh no, it's exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
No, it's the exact opposite. That's the point. No, you're absolutely
wrong. Don't explain.
I am wrong.
Sturridge is on.
That's black and white. That's no, I'm a celebrity. That's the total opposite. There's no ambiguity there.
No, there's no greys.
I put myself out there and I've got it wrong.
Literally the second you said it, Sturridge came on. So that's what Jurgen Klopp's going to do. Messi and Piqué have scored this evening for Barcelona. They're 2-0 up away to PSV. 18 minutes to go in London, and it's Spurs 0, Inter 0. Spurs absolutely have to score against Inter there. And in the Championship, we have Aston Villa against Nottingham Forest, Kenny. 2 of the one-time great European superpowers. 5-5 after 84 minutes in the Championship.
I was going to say,
Villa 5, Nottingham Forest 5.
Well, when I saw 4-3 and Abrahams had scored the hat-trick, immediately I thought, well, it can't be how many players have scored a hat-trick and end up on the losing team. Obviously, they've got it back to 5-5 now, but
the 10 goals in those 84 minutes so far. So Aston Villa 5, Nottingham Forest 5, Ipswich Town 2, Bristol 3.
Oof.
In the Kenny Cunningham derby, Millwall against Birmingham. Who do you want to win?
Two me ex.
Who do you want to win there? Who's your favourite ex out of those 2?
No, I've got a lot of affection for both of those clubs.
I know, yeah, but
I wouldn't lean either way, to be honest with you. Who's winning? Do you mind me asking?
I don't mind you asking at all. I'm going to tell everyone in a second. Would you not?
No, I really wouldn't. No.
Birmingham City are 2-0 up away to Millwall.
2-0 up.
Yeah. Swansea 1, West Brom 2, Wigan 3, Blackburn 1. And Stoke are 2-1 up on Derby after 67 minutes in that game. There's just a few minutes to go in the other ones. Short break. Andy West joins us next.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app, with hundreds of pre-live and in-play football markets. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
News Talk Breakfast.
We still look upon Budget Day like the audience at the Late Late Toy Show. Like, what's in it for me? What are the goodies? What am I going to go home with? I don't think any other country looks at Budget Day the same way as we do. Taoiseach, if you're listening, please stop the promises. Stop talking about giving away €3 billion in tax cuts. Take it handy. Take it easy. That's what we need to do for once. Instead of giving away in one budget and taking back in the next. Let's just keep the ship steady.
News Talk Breakfast.
In association with Air.
Back tomorrow on News Talk.
Time for bed.
Oh, we better get warmed up. Right, jumping jacks. 1, 2, 3. Now drop and give me 10. 1, 2.
With an Imatec high-tech electric blanket, you'll never have to warm up before going to bed again.
Jane, I'm still a bit cold, you know. Brr.
Visit imatechsheetshivers.ie today for your chance to win a warming gift and banish sheet shivers for good.
Your partner's unique, romantic, exceptional. So for Christmas, get your special someone a voucher for a relaxing spa break at Monart. It's also unique, romantic, exceptional. And because Monart has been voted one of the very best spas in the world, you can relax too. Visit monart.ie. Something special for your someone special.
For as long as cars have been dented and drivers affected, since you've needed to know that you'll be protected.
Insure your car and home with Aviva and get 15% off both and free travel insurance. Get your quote today and find out more at aviva.ie. You're safe in the hands of Aviva.
Offer available to new and existing customers with Aviva Direct Ireland Limited. Subject to minimum premium of €280 for car, €230 for home and €115 for contents or buildings only. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Car and home insurance underwritten by Aviva Insurance Limited. Free one-year travel insurance arranged by Aviva Direct Ireland Limited and underwritten by Chubb European Group Limited.
Mattresses delivered. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
The journey home. The journey home and the obstacles in the way. Late trains, missed buses, or the tailback at exit 14. But there's something so reassuring about the journey home. Every night, dozens of people choose not to take that journey. Instead, after work, they join the Simon community on the streets, helping those who have no home to begin their journey home. This Christmas, help them by donating at simon.ie.
The shopping event of the year continues at Harvey Norman. Get Black Friday discounts now. Like the Dyson Kinetic Big Bowl Animal Vacuum for just €349, saving you €50. Or get the KitchenAid Artisan Stand Mixer for just €399, saving you €216. And at Harvey Norman, we've matched all competitors' Black Friday prices, so no need to shop around. The Harvey Norman Black Friday sale, in-store and online. Don't miss out.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
So no change in Paris, still PSG 2, Liverpool 1, and still Spurs 0, Inter 0. So not a great evening thus far for the two Premier League sides. A win by 2 goals or more against Napoli in the final game of the group stages at Anfield will put Liverpool through. So that's kind of how things are shaping up for them at the moment in simple terms.
Not over yet, Joe.
Okay. Liverpool will have to score 2 goals in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's my point. It's not over.
Okay. Insightful and helpful as ever. Thank you, Kenny. Cunningham.
But it's that type of, it's open, Joe, isn't it? You know what I mean? If Liverpool look as if they're capable, as I said, they can get enough pressure around that PSG box, they can still create chances.
So do PSG, though, I'd be worried.
You know, it's true. Yeah. It's true.
I'm glad we agree on that. I'm going to press on now. Andy West is waiting. Hi, Andy.
Hi.
So thanks for joining us. Messi scored this evening, and Messi, The Art of Living is your new book. It's going well, I presume. Everybody enjoying it?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And managing to pick up a few translation contracts, so that's nice. Hopefully you get it all over the world. But yeah, it's my first book, so I'm pleased so far.
Great, okay. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. There's plenty of different bits and bobs going on in La Liga. Atletico, who won this evening, drew 1-1 with Barca at the weekend. It's almost the table which is generally catching our eye. So Sevilla are top on 26 points. Barcelona then second, a point behind. Atletico on 24. Alaves are there on 23. Espanyol 21. And Real Madrid and Girona on 20. So we're kind of pretty familiar with what's been going wrong at Madrid and how Solari's turned things around ever so slightly. It doesn't make great reading for Barcelona. Almost in a subtle way, they've had a fairly poor season.
Yeah, they have, and it's remarkable how tight and congested that league is. I saw a stat comparing the points of the leaders across the big leagues around Europe. I can't remember the exact numbers, but you know, you've got Juve won practically every game, City won practically every game. Even Dortmund have got way more points than Sevilla, who are top in La Liga. And yeah, Barcelona dropping points of, understandable game to drop points in against Atletico, but they've done it regularly throughout the season. And they look like they're going to continue doing it regularly. You know, they're winning tonight against PSV, but they're lucky to be ahead, really. They were second best in the first half. PSV hit the post twice in 5 seconds. Ter Stegen made a couple of saves. So they're struggling, not by their standards, obviously, it's relative. Yeah. They're by no means looking infallible, and I think we got a real title race this year.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. So Barcelona have played 13 games. They've won just the 7 of the 13, and they lie in second. Barcelona and Real Madrid, clearly from their peak years, have come backwards. To what extent is there a sense that the rest of the league have improved?
I think this year there's definitely that sense that teams like Sevilla, who are top, have come on a long way under new manager Pablo Machin, you could go through all of them individually, and I think a lot of it is down to great coaching. I think something that Spanish football has to a greater degree than other leagues, as far as I see, is teams who know how they're going to play, they have a game plan, and they're able to stick to it. They're well coached, they're well drilled, they've got system, and that allows them to compete even if the individual players aren't as good. And I think that's something, even in the last 3 or 4 years, that has become even more apparent. I think every team in La Liga pretty much is really well coached, well organised, and able to make the most of what they've got.
Okay, interesting. The story broke also in the last week or so that Barcelona have become the first team in sport to pay an average wage of over £10 million sterling. Real Madrid second, and then there's a bunch of NBA teams, as you might expect, given the size of the playing roster. And then Juventus, I didn't realise Juventus were so high, but they are 6.7 million. Manchester United 6.5 as the highest Premier League side. So Barcelona have broken the £10 million barrier, which is quite extraordinary. I was reading, though, slightly distorted by the absolutely ginormous contract they've given Messi in the range of 50 million a year for Messi, we're reading, which is eye-watering. So that's distorted things slightly. They're not all sitting there on 10 million pretty a year.
No, they are high payers, and I think they've got an awareness that they have to be now to bring players in, because the money that La Liga has doesn't compete with the Premier League. So Barcelona have really got to go that bit extra to get players over, and as you say, it's distorted by Messi. And if there's one player who you're going to distort a wage structure for, it will be him. They know they can't afford to lose him, and they also know what he brings into the club in revenues, in terms of whenever they go on pre-season tour, whenever they've got any kind of marketing to do, the number of tourists he brings in. You know, Barcelona's stadium tour, the Camp Nou Stadium tour, is actually the most visited museum in Barcelona, even more than the Picasso Museum and so on. So, and a lot of that is for Messi. Everyone to see the Ballon d'Ors, and the Messi effect is, it just distorts everything in Barcelona, and wages obviously is a big part of that as well.
Yeah. On the Real Madrid front, I'll talk to you about matters on the pitch in just a second, but I'm glad you're on, because I did want to ask you about the Der Spiegel story surrounding Sergio Ramos. I don't know if it's been a big deal in the media over there. For people who haven't seen it, I suppose relatively, to sum up, Der Spiegel, it's to do with the football leaks, and it's that Ramos violated sports anti-doping protocol on 2 occasions. On the second occasion, he insisted on showering before giving a sample after a Champions League final, which is against the protocol. And actually, you can get a pretty big ban for doing that. The first occasion, according to Der Spiegel, June 4th, 2017, a sample arrives at the doping laboratory in just south of Vienna, and it came from Wales after the Champions League final. Urine sample, and a month later, July 5th, the deputy head of the laboratory sent a report to headquarters of UEFA. They'd analysed the sample. They found it contained traces of dexamethasone, which is a cortisone preparation that has an anti-inflammatory effect in addition to relieving pain. Also increases cognition and concentration and can have a euphoric effect. And it is very much on the list kept by WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, of substances that are prohibited in competition. So this was in Sergio Ramos's urine, and this was never made public, and we wouldn't know about this, I don't think, but for the WikiLeaks, or for the Football Leaks and Der Spiegel. So his file remains behind lock and key at UEFA, say Der Spiegel. No disciplinary action was taken, neither against the player nor the team doctor. It seems UEFA got on to Madrid, and the team doctor wrote that he had treated Ramos before the game, and that merely he had forgotten to attach this to the report, because you can take this under a TUE, or certainly if you notified the authorities. So in short, the doctor has held his hands up and said, it was all my fault, Sergio Ramos has done nothing. And UEFA, conveniently for everyone, has said, well, that's fine by us, and we'll carry on just fine. And not a word about this until it came to light via Der Spiegel. Which begs a number of questions, not least, geez, I wonder how many other times this is going on all over the place for the top players around the world.
Yeah, and was the doctor telling the truth?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure on Real Madrid's part, they value Sergio Ramos a lot more than the doctor, as good as I'm sure the doctor is.
Absolutely, and as soon as these reports came out, they issued a very strongly worded statement to deny it all. Of course, as I'm sure any club would in that situation.
Yeah.
We just don't know, do we? It seems that there was a transgression here, but what the circumstances behind it were, how often it happens, whether it was hiding something else more serious, we just don't know. Unfortunately, there's so many grey areas when it comes to doping. Personally, I feel that there's a much bigger problem widespread throughout football than most people would dare to think. I hope I'm wrong, but it's such a big business now, and it's so much worth the clubs and players making those marginal gains, and they've got the technology and the finances to stay ahead of the people who are trying to track it. So, I'm not saying that Sergio Ramos is guilty. Who knows? We just don't know. But it wouldn't be at all surprising if there's a lot going on that we don't know about.
You could argue what's particularly telling here is that UEFA tried to keep this under wraps and didn't, in the interests of transparency, come out at the time, this is 2017, and say this has happened. This is the explanation that we've been given. We are satisfied with the explanation. People can judge it for themselves one way or another.
Yeah.
I think one of the doctor's points was that the King of Spain had come by, so he was somewhat flustered in the euphoria of the moment and therefore filled out the forms incorrectly. But
which all sounds very plausible.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue it's plausible. It's more UEFA's handling of it that's problematic, I would argue.
Yeah, and I don't think the authorities, any of the authorities, really help, because wasn't the last thing UEFA want or FIFA want is a drug scandal.
Yeah.
Covering some of the big names from the last 10 years. If you could have been, or any time, if you imagine the smear it would be against football, if some big names were discovered to have been serial dopers, how bad that would be for the sport. So UEFA should be the custodians of this, should be strictly enforcing it, but it's actually in their interest to bury stuff.
Which is a problem. And actually, just to say as well, so according to the Der Spiegel report, the explanation from Real Madrid was about a 4-line email. This wasn't like UEFA said, well, hold on here, everyone. We really need to find out what happened.
Full investigation.
This is very serious. Yeah. Full investigation didn't happen. It was a 4-line email. And UEFA said, basically, okay, grand. And, that's not right. That's not acceptable, really.
No, but there's some very, very, very powerful interests, clubs, players, organisations like UEFA and FIFA, whose interest it's in for nothing to come out. If there is anything, not saying there is, but if there is anything, for it never to come out. And the only people it's in the interests of to reveal what is happening is a relatively marginal, uninfluential drug detection agency, WADA. Who are they realistically in the running of football? People are going to try and keep them quiet.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's wrong. But if people, influential clubs, players, and institutions can keep them quiet, they will.
Yeah. So it really does call UEFA's handling this into massive question. It's something we'll probably come back to at some stage and try and dig a bit deeper into. On the pitch under Solari, things seem to have improved massively, bar the one result at the weekend.
Well, you say bar the one result at the weekend, but that was a big one. His first game in charge permanently, and actually it helped bury the Ramos news, because as soon as that game finished, that was, you want a Real Madrid story, it was the way they collapsed at Eibar, who are a decent team, solid mid-table La Liga team, have been for a few years now, but I think the fact that they're such a tiny club just made the result even more spectacular. The population of the town is 30,000. They've got a capacity of 8,000 or 9,000 for the stadium. They're a tiny club, and they battered Real Madrid. It wasn't that they sneaked a victory. They beat them 3-0, could have been a lot more. Courtois was by far the busiest of the goalkeepers, and Real Madrid were terrible. And this was Solari's first permanent game. You've got to worry where it's going to lead. his first big test, and he failed it big time. Obviously, they came back last night, but they had a lot of fortune in that as well with the misses that Roma had in the first half. They should have been well up by half time.
Yeah. Did you want to come in with a question? Or
I was just going to say to Andy how you feel Atletico Madrid have played this season, and they almost under the radar as they usually are in comparison to Barcelona and Real Madrid. You spoke about the organisation and the kind of tactical acumen of teams in and around Barcelona and Real Madrid closing the gap. But you look at Atletico Madrid, even in terms of the personnel they've accrued during the summer, Lamar and Rodri in particular, the balance of the team, a lot of youth in there, a lot of legs, energy, and some real quality as well, which they've always had. Do you think potentially if Real Madrid and Barcelona continue this kind of stuttering kind of start to the season, potentially Atletico would be the ones best placed to topple them and actually win it?
Absolutely, yeah. They've got a real chance, and I actually think they've been nowhere near their potential yet. You mentioned the signings they've brought in, and then they've got Griezmann and Costa up front. That defence that has been for years one of the best in the world, if not the best. But they're not really gelling at the moment. The Costa Griezmann pairing, they generally look unhappy with each other. It doesn't look like a very fruitful partnership. On a personal level, the chemistry doesn't seem to be there at the moment. And there's talk that they don't get on and that Costa's jealous of the attention that Griezmann gets. There's a lot more to come from them, you'd think. And the midfield, Rodri's in and out of the team a little bit. Koke's not had his best season. Lamar has only really done it in flashes. But they're up there, despite being below their best. And I think they'll win, or come very close to winning at least one trophy this year. And I think you've got to look at the Champions League as well, because they're hosting the final.
That's right, yeah.
So if they get to the final, playing it at their stadium, they're going to take some stopping.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Interesting times on a few fronts in Spain. Andy West, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers, guys, as always.
Cheers. Still 2-1 in Paris. Eriksen has scored for Spurs. 1-0 up against Inter. So they'll go level on points with Inter. They are hanging on by a thread in this group, Spurs, but they have scored a vital goal, 1-0, and they're into added time.
Off the ball on News Talk.
Winter. Honestly, it's enough to give you the chills. Mind you, Electric Ireland has some very warming news to keep our customers nice and toasty over the coming months. Unlike some suppliers in the market, we're freezing our electricity and gas prices this winter, which is great news for you because no price increases means no surprises with your winter bills and one less thing to worry about. Imagine a freeze you can actually enjoy over winter. Electric Ireland. That's smarter living. Residential customers only.
We all have our Christmas routine, like painstakingly trying to untangle a ball of fairy lights, or searching the loft for last year's artificial tree. Where is it? But this year, take a fresh look at Homebase, because we've got everything you need to get your home Christmas ready. Prepare for Santa with 20% off all artificial Christmas trees and string lights. And buy any cut or artificial Christmas tree at your local store, and we'll deliver it to your door for just €6. Make your house a home this Christmas at Homebase.
There are more people experiencing homelessness in Ireland now than ever before. There is one way you can help this Christmas. Support Peter McVerry Trust to refurbish, renovate or repair 100 homes. Support Peter McVerry Trust to help 100 people and families leave homelessness behind permanently. Visit pmvtrust.ie/100 homes or call 01 823 0776 and help more people home this Christmas. Thank you.
Thinking of hiring a locksmith? Or do you provide locksmith services? Did you know that locksmiths must hold a PSA licence issued by the Private Security Authority? Locksmiths who operate without a licence and anyone employing one is breaking the law and could face prosecution and fines. For more information on how to get a licence or to report an unlicensed locksmith, visit psa.gov.ie. Issued by the Private Security Authority, the security regulator.
The Cyber Monday sale has been extended till Sunday at appliancesdelivered.ie with super offers to get your home festive ready. No one likes washing up after Christmas dinner, so we've wiped up to 25% off dishwashers. That leftover turkey, it's going to need a bigger fridge. So we've up to 35% off refrigeration. And everyone loves a Christmas movie, even if Dad's snoring away. So there's up to 45% off TVs, plus loads of great gift ideas. The Cyber Monday sale ends Sunday at appliancesdelivered.ie.
Little Emily, Before you, I never knew what the world looked like at 4 a.m. I never knew nappies had a wrong way round. I never knew I'd feel worry deep in the pit of my stomach when I heard you cough. So I'm glad I found out about undertheweather.ie. It's always open and gives great advice from GPs and pharmacists on how to treat everyday illnesses yourself at home. But you knew that already, didn't you, Emily? Undertheweather.ie from the HSE.
Look, here's Mummy come to bring you home.
Sorry I'm late.
How's it being back at work?
It's different.
Can be tough after maternity.
No, I mean the job is different. Totally different. I was in charge of client services. Now I'm in new business. And my deputy's now my boss.
You need to talk to someone.
I did. They just said my role changed while I was away.
No, you need to talk to someone else. There are times in life when you need someone you can trust. In your corner, working for you. These are the times to talk to your solicitor. From the Law Society of Ireland.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Okay, so we got to wrap up quick enough here, but interesting time. So in Paris, it's 2-1 to PSG against Liverpool, and it looks like Spurs are going to beat Inter 1-0. So in short, Kenny, we don't have much time. Liverpool will have to beat Napoli most likely by 2 goals or more to go through. And Spurs, assuming the other result goes as expected in their group with PSV and Inter
Milan.
Yeah. Spurs will have to
Most
probably
likely,
win in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So Liverpool's chance at home to Napoli and Spurs in Barcelona, go.
I give Spurs a far better chance than a lot of people would. Because I just think their performance of late, they've gone up a gear. Getting players back from injury and finding a bit of form, that bit of physical fatigue we saw at the start of the season, it's disappeared now. That performance against Chelsea last weekend from Spurs told me this team's back.
Okay.
And Spurs have the game to go to the Nou Camp and hold Barcelona.
Be an amazing turnaround if they could. What about Liverpool? Have to win by 2 probably against Napoli?
Nervous.
They're
nervous.
That Belgrade result has really messed them up.
Napoli are a really well drilled outfit. They can hurt you counter attack. Napoli defensively solid as well.
Yeah.
That's a 50-50 game for me.
Yeah. Thomas Tuchel and PSG are celebrating like they've won the Champions League, honestly. And I suppose they have turned things around. They were under a lot of pressure. So suddenly PSG are on 8 points and will probably go through one way or another now because Liverpool or Napoli, one of them won't. So a massive result for PSG. And we'll see what happens in the final round of games. That is us done this evening. Kenny, what a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Richie is on the way. OTBAM tomorrow at 7:45.